All right.
Such a rookie that right when I accepted your the request, then I had to tell the phone, yeah, Instagram can use my camera and my microphone and all that, and then I lost you, and then I had to look for you again. Oh man, sorry. All right, I'm ready.
No, you're good. You're good. All right. So, thank you two again for coming on. We had a great conversation yesterday just to get to know each other. So already we felt like friends at that point. We had some good laughs, and so I'm really excited about this interview. So we got some people on here, and so let's just get the ball rolling. So again, this is the Playlist Shuffle podcast. This is the Premier Lounge Talk segment, and so you can find us again on Spotify and YouTube. The Spotify page up there. And so, so y'all just introduce yourselves and tell us what you have done, what you're doing, and we'll start with you, Carlos.
Oh, okay. Sure. So, I'm from Puerto Rico. I was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and at the age of 22, then I moved to Florida. What else? I compose music and do sound design. I met Cesar in 1995 or 94, something like that. And since then we've been super friends, and we collaborate a lot, and we've created this bond of friends, family, brothers. That it's one of the key elements on how I can feel comfortable creating music, because I always trust his judgment. Now, let's see. When I was younger, high school, college, I always wanted to do something with music. I had no idea what. We play in bands together, and I play in other bands too. He play in others. And I didn't know what to do. I went to college for electronic engineering, and it was fun, but it was not quite what I wanted to do. And then I moved to Florida. I went to Full Sail, graduated from Full Sail in 2002, I think. And then from there, then I went to Miami, worked in different recording studios, and I started creating my own voice and working different gigs, and that translated into a more defined love for sounds in general. I realized that music by itself, it was not enough. It was all about what I was feeling with a sound. So I could feel a certain way with a type of music, but I can feel kind of the same thing with just one sound. So then it's when my curiosity started, and I needed to be part of all kinds of gigs related to any type of sound. So TVs, films, games, commercials, music, and that's kind of the short story. Yeah,
appreciate that. That's awesome. That's really awesome. And Cesar?
So I'm also from San Juan, Puerto Rico, and when I was, that Carlos, because Carlos and my story start the same. Yeah, it's the same interest, and we were in different bands, collaborated. We've been friends since like '94, and yeah, basically we're family. And I moved to Chicago.
We have the same haircut.
We have the same haircut. Yeah. None of the two wanted it originally, but that's what happened. So I moved to Chicago in basically 0102 in 2002, I went to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. I studied sound art, sound design, experimental music. Before that, I did go to the University of Puerto Rico. I have to mention it because it's very important in who I am, even though I didn't graduate there. And I got my bachelor's at SAIC. I eventually went to Full Sail in 2005, finished in 2006, and decided to go to LA to see how far I could take my knowledge in audio. I'm very passionate about how a sound of a combination of sounds has its own aura, can provoke its own emotions on people. I'm fascinated by exploring emotions with art, basically, and especially with sound, because sound is invisible. So, like, if you are experiencing an event and you cover your eyes, you're still gonna have to hear it. Even if you cover your ears, sound will go through your hands, and there's no escape from it. And that's something that makes it very powerful, because you can create emotions in ways that people don't even notice, because people are so focused on visual. Like, our culture is focused on visuals, and the word focus is an example of that. That the fact that they don't pay attention to the power of sound allow us to bring things into their consciousness, and sometimes unconsciousness, that will touch their heart, because anything that they can imagine based on what they hear is based on the images that are triggered in their mind, not in what they see. And whatever they see in their mind is way more powerful than what they can see.
Yeah, that's why horror movies are so effective.
Yeah,
it's
it can
pretty much using that idea.
Yeah, but any film will use that to their advantage.
So I want to talk about that, with music being such a powerful tool to the consciousness. So I always listen to a lot of music, and especially on my headphones, I always seem to be so in tune with whatever I hear. Somehow, some way, I have these images and stories that just roll through my mind, and it's just all make believe. It's just like what I imagine myself being, or just creating this world. So just, I don't know, like, what is it about the power of music that just brings our brain to, like, some other dimension that just doesn't exist?
I have a theory. I think in life we attach memories to visuals, but also to sound. So there will be sounds that will happen in important moments in our lives that will be similar to sounds created in music. And they don't have to be musical sounds, but just the way that something was mixed, and the notes that they are choosing, and the harmony and the dissonance in that music might match something that's very personal to you, and you're hooked.
Yeah, I don't have an elaborate theory like that one, but I think because our brain is so complex, and there's a lot of things that we don't even understand, but your brain reacts to stimulus and vibrations and everything that is surrounding the person. That music is one of the easiest tools to just change the chemistry of your brain and then push you in a certain way. And it's why, without thinking, we are sad, we're happy, we go into a specific song. We don't play the same stuff. And we do it without thinking. And that's pretty much what Cesar was saying at the beginning, and I'm gonna add, it's one of the reasons why music is so powerful, because people don't actually think about it, they just feel it and then move on, and they accept that feeling.
Yeah, because I figured that I figured out that for some reason my favorite note is E. I just like listening to the one thing, like, I don't know what it is about the key of E, but for some reason it speaks to me even more. Like, I think like the Prince of Egypt, there was a song or score in there is like in the key of E, and I always practice it. And I know in that commercial for Masterclass that Hans Zimmer did, he said that he likes to play in the key of D or something like that. And so it just seems that there's a specific note, like you said, that just hits the body and soul and the mind a lot, and it creates emotion and stuff like that. So I don't know why that just or I guess I'm just a big music addict, or maybe it's just something like that.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying, because I always go towards the C, and maybe it's because it's the easiest note for me to find it in the keyboard without looking at it, and at the same time, because I know that, I force myself to move away from it and then try to create something different, because I don't want to always create the same thing. If I catch myself, oh, this is similar, let's move on to something else. But yeah, I understand. I feel comfortable. My brain feels comfortable and my body feels comfortable just with C minor, especially the scale of C minor.
Well,
Gotcha.
I guess I'll have to say my favorite note. My favorite note is D, and I think it's because I really like the sound of a drop D tuning in a guitar, and I think that's because I listen to a lot of Soundgarden. Yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so now we'll move on. So when you are given a project to work on, however the directors or producers or whoever comes and pitches to you, or maybe you pitch to them, they send you the picture. What would be your approach? And this goes for any genre. I'm gonna start with you, Carlos.
Cry? Nah, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, you want to watch it, you want to enjoy it, you want to understand the direction of the director, if it's a movie, right? And I like to ask a lot of questions, and I don't want to have any doubts in my head. So once I have all the information that I need, or that I think I need at the moment, then I feel comfortable just being myself and then writing something for the project. But I have to understand what's behind the main story of the project. I can't work on something that I don't know what I'm getting into. And that sounds simple, but it's the idea of trying to understand what he's thinking, because we have to realize that we're not working on our personal project. We are working on somebody else's project. We're working on somebody else's dream. We're working on somebody else's baby. We're working on somebody else's project that maybe it's been in their heads for years. So I want to be respectful to that emotion that they're trying to project, or the message that they want to send. Am I always successful? No, of course not. But you try. You try to understand and then go from there.
Gotcha. Cesar?
I mean, everything that Carlos said is right. I will ask the director, but I like to watch it by myself at least twice, and then create my own write down my own perception of what it is about, and how I would approach it, and then ask the director and just continue asking questions to see if we are aligned. See if I am wrong, then see if I can actually contribute to the project, because we have to find out if we are a good match, the director and me, and see how I can make how I can enhance the story, how I can enhance the the emotions that go with this piece of art, and then work at it.
Yeah, that's important. You gotta be honest. You gotta make sure that you're a match. I can't write everything. If it's supposed to be a jazz song, I can't do that. So you have to be honest and make sure that you're the perfect match. So then the communication it's a lot easier, it's a lot smoother, and then you have much freedom to be creative, because it's all about that. You deliver something that he feels, if we're talking about the director, he feels that it's right for the theme, for the movie, for the project, etc. It's all about that. It's just we're trying to enhance the story. If we're not helping the story or enhancing the story, we're wasting our time.
So I guess I would ask, would you say to an up-and-coming filmmaker who is looking for composers, would it be important that they do their research when looking for a composer, see like what style that they are pretty, I don't want to say like 100% fluent in, but more prominent?
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Absolutely. I mean, I would be surprised if the person hasn't done any research at all, and that would speak a lot about that person. Because then the question would be, why am I being picked if you haven't done the research? And I've never met someone like that, so that's why I've never met someone like that, but I'm sure there's plenty of people like that. Yeah, the person has to have an idea of where they want to go with it, or if they don't have an idea, then be completely aware, or not completely aware, but be completely sure that they want to just go in and experiment.
Risk.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because I was going to ask, has there ever been a moment or a time where you had to help a filmmaker who is not, usually musically inclined or have a clear sense of music direction? Have you ever had to help them through that?
Can you repeat the question again? My internet was in and out.
Oh, no. Okay, so was there a time that you had to help a filmmaker who is not musically inclined or doesn't have a good sense of music direction? Did you have to help them and make it smoother on them? Did you have to go through that?
Yeah, that happens all the time, and it's fine. You can't feel bad or take it the wrong way, because you are the music expert. If we want to apply a title, and he's contacting you, hopefully because he trusts your judgment and your art. So it's fine. It's fine if they don't know. But once the part is developed, and then we have it under, hopefully we can then come and we can bounce ideas. That's usually the best way to go. But yeah, of course. There's moments that they are trusting you in a way. They give you a lot of freedom, and you go, "Is this what you're thinking?" And it's always yes or no. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, if you are all looking for fresh ideas, then you are all a little bit lost, because fresh ideas are not going to be easy to find. They're not going to be immediate for you to grab on and stick to the project. So that means there needs to be a little bit of exploration, and exploration includes just going a route that you weren't expecting, and then coming back to the start to go through a different route. Because for you to find the right melody or the right rhythm, just the right musical expression, you need to play some things that are not to be expected. And sometimes what's not expected doesn't really fit, but for you to find the right one, you have to try many different things.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So I want to ask you about so your chemistry. You've worked on projects together. You've had to go through the music, and you have done sound. So in your experiences, what is some of the things that you like to install in your work? Like sound effects, anything musical element. What is the one thing that you like or that you enjoy
As
putting in your work?
as a team or individually, or when we're working
As a
together?
team.
Hmm.
As a team.
That's well, this answer could be 3 hours. But look, I when I started and started getting this passion for sounds, Cesar has been the one who always pushed me to try something new, to try something different. So with his guidance, I like to try things that are not traditional, and I think more about texture instead of melody, instead of notes, instead of complete symphony or anything emotional. I think about textures that are gonna make you feel a certain way, and they just add rhythm to it if it's needed. So because we're also sound designers, I've always said that I make music with the eyes of a sound designer, and I sound design with the eyes of a musician. So my sound design has maybe more rhythmic qualities than my music, but it's because it's always the battle in my head. Is it a big sound design or is it a musical form? And sometimes it's hard to divide the two because I'm thinking in those ways. But the best thing about working with Cesar is that he's always pushing me. He's always honest about, well, this is not what we're feeling here. Let's try something different. And I always trust his judgment.
Yeah, for me, I have put sound design in the past, and I've been focusing more in my music, but my music is very sound design. So even the way that I approach things, the way like I'll make a melody, I'll make just some harmony, but I'll move things around in the same way with the same techniques that I used back when I was doing sound design. I don't think in quarter notes so much, but sometimes I think in frames, because it's like it needs to be a little bit late. Let's just give it 8 frames of back or forward, and I think that helps in my approach to music. So what I prefer when we organize what we do, I mean, with Planet B234, we did both things, and I focused more on sound design. But that's the last project I worked on as a sound designer, and we were able to work together because we know each other for a long time. And the producer and actor and writer of the film, he's a friend of mine since back in high school, which is the reason why I decided to do this one more sound design project. The thing is, the thing that I like the most of all of the process of working with Carlos is just being able to talk about the technical stuff and discuss techniques. And I enjoy everything else, but there's something very special about that because it's something that I can't do with just anyone. And by discussing that subject, we are discussing almost like the DNA of the sounds that we're working with, and that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, our conversations are crazy. Anybody that sits next to us and will hear us talk about a project or a process will think that we're insane. Because we're not, most of the time, we're not explaining everything completely because we can understand what we're saying and we can finish each other's sentences and then continue and then keep going.
Both languages.
And it's so, at the same time, it's so hard to explain emotional sounds. I was even nervous to come and talk to you because sometimes I don't even know how to explain it. I just play something and I just show him something and then we go from there. And sometimes we just talk in sounds. Oh, it should do beep, boop, 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 whatever. We don't even use words. So, and maybe if I describe a specific process that I did for one of the songs, maybe for the next one I did something completely different. Because again, it's just trying to be honest to the emotion that we're trying to project from the movie, and then trying to be honest with the ideas that the movie needs. Yeah.
I get it. Like some things, it's hard to explain. It just can be left up here in the brain. You can't put it into words. It just happens.
Right.
And I believe that's what good chemistry does for you. Speaking of teamwork, I am very curious about Hide the Potion. Explain that to me and what it meant for you, both of you.
You want to start? Or you want me to
start? I'll start. Hide the Potion is just a fun project that Carlos and me started. It was a way to work in music that didn't include anything else. It's just, I guess there's not that much thinking about it. It's just we decided to make music together. That's it. I think that's
yeah. And
release
thinking of
it.
Right. Because that's the other thing. We work on a lot of things, but sometimes they don't see the light of the day. But Hide the Potion was it was pretty much a celebration of our friendship, and
we
have something that it's not under any direction, and it's just a communication between the two, because that's how we see the music. It's just us talking to each other, and there's parts that I come in and then he answers. I ask a question musically and then he answers, and things like that. So it's a celebration of our friendship in our commitment to this specific, weird, and unique art that not a lot of people like, because our music is weird. But yeah, and we're always thinking about, all right, one day we'll release some other stuff that we have in the in some old hard drives.
And one good example of how we both have our own way of doing things is the fact that in some part, I was mainly using Pro Tools then. He was only sometimes, but because I was working in Pro Tools, he worked in some of the processing Pro Tools. And the interesting thing that highlights how we work in different ways is that every time he would send me a session, I will have to be like, why does he choose this in the preferences? And I have to remake the session my own way, for my own shortcuts and my own approach, and vice versa. I hate the Smart Tool. He likes the Smart Tool. I prefer to go like a caveman and press the short key, clack, clack, clack. I don't know. There's something so precise about the Smart Tool that I can't approach it. But it's just how different people use the same tool.
Yeah. I mean, I told you yesterday that we were probably going to start talking about technical stuff, and you needed to stop us. I don't know if everybody knows what the Smart Tool is, but yeah, I don't know, it's just fun. It's just fun, and even in moments with tension and trying to come up with something and trying to figure out how to solve the puzzle, the song. It's always fun. It's always fun. I've never had that much fun working with somebody else. It never gets to that point. And it's, well, we know each other since '94, so it's a lot of years. And we've seen each other in our lowest, in our highest, and we know each other's family, and he knows my kids and my wife, and it's not an easy thing to achieve and not an easy thing to plan for, because we didn't plan for this. It's just organically happened. But in more technical stuff and about softwares and things like that, I find it fun. For the most part, I use Reason to compose music. I also use Reason for sound design. I use Reaper, and he used to use Pro Tools. I finally convinced him to jump to the Reaper family.
After 5 years of constantly killing me, so.
Yeah, I did Miguel. I know Miguel is watching, and so if somebody is asking why Miguel is using Reaper, it's my fault, and I don't care what you think. Miguel is happy, so leave him alone.
No, like, one of the funny things is that he would continually send me stuff, and then once I made the change, after like about a week of working on it, I'm like, dude, have you tried this? Dude, have you tried that? And I'm like, I become way more annoying, because you weren't annoying to me. I was annoying because I keep finding these new things to do, which are I find way smarter than Pro Tools.
Yeah, but, yeah. I mean, not to match and throw any rocks at Pro Tools. It's a really powerful software. I don't know. If you try to be creative, I always felt that Pro Tools was slowing me down. And then Reaper will give me the freedom that I need, especially for editing and sound design. And then Reason, because I've been using Reason since version 2, that was maybe 2001, I think. I already have an idea what I'm going to get, and I already go straight to the different instruments, and then start working on it, and I feel comfortable. And I know there's other softwares that are amazing, but that's fine. I'm fine. I feel comfortable there, and I'll stay there.
Yeah. So we all see what friendships look like. We all see what brotherhood looks like. Great banter between the two. So I wanted to bring up Hide the Potion because obviously it's a celebration of your friendship.
Yeah.
And so I looked on the website, which is still on the Hide the Potion Bandcamp.com if you want to check that out. There's Driving Home, Burning to Start Again, Education. Some really great work. So congratulations on that.
The song Education is also part of the movie Planet B234. It's remixed in 3 different moments in the movie.
So let's talk about Planet B234. You can say that 5 times fast. So like y'all mentioned, you wear multiple hats. You work the music and you work the sound. When you were pitched the story of this film, what emotions did you think about bringing onto this film? Because this is one of those psychological, slow tempo type films. So I'm curious, as like composers and sound designers like you, how did you manage to vertically align your art with the film?
So,
Carlos.
Now, we can explain the process that we are hoping that it's going to always happen, and with our experience, what we've seen before. But every project has something different and special. And sometimes you have to rethink and reinvent yourself. So Planet 234 was a really fun story, because first I was not even supposed to be part of it, and was done, and then Cesar was going to work on it. But because of changes and adjustments and editing and things like that, the time for Cesar to work on it kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller and tighter. And he was working in other projects too. And he asked Jorge, which is, I think, right, correct me if I'm wrong, he asked Jorge, which is the director and actor and husband, director and his wife, Kelly, that if he can bring me so I can help. So I said yes immediately, and we were the only two main sound people, and then the mixer and Foley artist. So it was only 3 people. So after the production, of course. So we had to divide the entire work. Now Cesar was concentrating more on the dialogue first. As an editor and sound designer, I think he's excellent there. It's one of the best dialogue editors I've met too. So he told me, all right, start writing music, and I'll catch up with you when I finish with the dialogue. So because the time was so tight, conversations with the production team per se were very minimal. I was just writing crazy. I even told my wife on the weekends I don't exist. I rearrange a room, so then that was my room for the entire project. And
this is with our day job. Right. Let's add that. We had our day jobs.
Yeah, right. So we were working on it. Not only the time was tight, we were working on it full time on only weekends. So I started writing music, and after multiple passes and things like that, then they'll either approve it or not. But of course, I will consult with Cesar first. And then when he was done with the dialogue, then he joined it, and then he made the music sound better.
The dialogue and I mean, I added to the music. Like most of the music was you. And I did the dialogue and the sound effects, because then there was
all the backgrounds. You did all the backgrounds too. I didn't touch the backgrounds at all.
Yeah.
The dialogue backgrounds. I did sound design. You did sound design. Now, because at some point also, the deadline was getting closer. Even
six weekends, 5.
I don't remember.
It was ridiculous.
But towards the end, even though our communication it's superb and we're comfortable with each other, there were moments where we did the same sound effects. And then I tell him, oh, I did this, and he's like, oh yeah, but I already did that. I'm like, oh, damn it. So even under pressure,
it was twice. I think it was twice. It wasn't that much. We were really well organized, but yeah, it didn't happen that much. The one that happened was really funny, but it didn't happen that much.
I mean, we can tell you a lot of stories about that production, because it was a lot of fun. It was challenging.
It was meaningful.
It was meaningful too. Yeah. So that was the part that it was more nerve-wracking, right? Because you understand the emotion of the movie, and you want to make sure that you do a good job. It was fun to work on.
Yeah, and in case anybody is interested, I got the bio on here. So this film is about a father who's thousands of miles away from his son. He creates an alternate world to help him cope with the anxiety, depression, and desperation of separation. The imagination perseveres, but sometimes at the cost of reality.
Yeah.
So again, this was one of those, rough and hard-hitting psychological films. It moves at a slow pace. It does keep you guessing. You have to think about what's going on.
Yeah.
And when you catch on, especially at the end, it does hit pretty heavy.
Right. And then me as a father, I can see the movie in a certain way too. And one of my favorite things sometimes about films, it's that they left the ending kind of open. You're not 100% sure what's going on. And I never ask Jorge, and I'm sure if I ask, he'll tell me. But I wanna stay with that illusion that, all right, I want to come up with my own story in my head. And it's the same thing that I do for the music. I compose music for a specific reason, but once it's released, then I'll let people enjoy it the way they want it and interpret it the way they want it. I don't explain it.
And for a film like that, that has so much emotion, like honestly, I think like I need to know that once the movie has been shown in as many places as possible, as at least one person cried, and we did achieve that. I know that there were a couple of occasions where I heard that people cried, and there was even a Q&A where I heard something, and the producer and director were there physically, and later I asked the producer, who's also the actor, who's also my friend since high school, was there someone crying? He said yes, and in my head it's like, all right, the job was done, because at least like, yeah, I mean, because like crying is a very pure expression, and
right,
it's always that I've always valued tears.
Yeah. I mean, not that we're trying to make people suffer, but you want them to get real emotions from them. Big joys, cries. Even if they hate it, that is an honest emotion. When people are indifferent, that's when it hurts you.
Yeah.
But if they hate it, that's usually people don't throw the word hate just because. So it's a very honest emotion, and that's fine.
And there's always someone that would like, especially if you hear a lot of people hating something, there will be someone that will be really touched by it, because what you've created, it's something so different from what people feel things should be, that there will be someone out there who is feeling like there's something missing, and that something missing is this one object that you've created that is so different from everything else.
Yeah, and the movie has so many elements that I don't know if everybody knows about it. First of all, the movie is available on Amazon Prime, but in the movie, his son is his actual son. The director, it's his wife. So there's already an emotional development without even finishing the movie that I felt from the moment that I started watching it and I saw the first cut. So there was something already special without even hitting play watching the movie.
And they do live in different sides of the country.
Right.
I do want to. I may be bold here because I was really touched when I read the director's statement, and I think it really does go well with what you all just shared. So I just would like to read just a couple of sentences from that statement. So it says here, the film proudly makes space for Latino male vulnerability, a nearly invisible narrative. And then he goes on to say, I think turning an eye towards the care and conflict of this father-son relationship pushes stories of complex, intelligent, and emotionally available men of color closer to the center of the public eye. When I read that, I was pretty touched by that, because male vulnerability, one, is hard enough, but sometimes in men of color, that could really hit hard.
Yeah, and it gets translated into movie and talking about, or into music. Sorry, and talking about music, it's something so special to us and so personal. Even though we release stuff, it's still very personal. So when you feel them stumbling and trying to find the words to describe it, it's also trying to protect myself, because everything is very, very personal, and it's showing a little bit of myself that maybe at the moment I'm not comfortable sharing. So it's a big what's the word that I'm looking for? It's a big shock while you're creating, while you're sharing it, while you're watching it, and then on top of it, when you are trying to match the emotion of the main actors, the emotion of the scene, with whatever you're feeling at the moment and whatever you're creating at the moment too.
I think it's very important to show this side of who we are as people of color, as in it's not presented as much as it should be in media. People are not getting cast for this type of roles, even though they should be. It is a huge problem with the people that choose the casting to decide not to present the diversity that there is in real life.
Right.
And they don't even realize, like the people that refuse to do this don't even realize how, if they keep on not choosing to be diverse, then they are creating the very same story again and again, and that destroys storytelling, because you're then presenting the same faces, the same emotions, and lying to the same people, and it's the same story again and again. If you want something fresh, say that again. I'm sorry.
It's the same angle. It's always the same angle.
Yeah. So the way to create a story that grabs people's attention is by presenting unexpected things, and something that is unexpected is something fresh. So you have to truly accept that people have emotions of all kinds. Like it's that simple. People are complex, and it happens in every ethnicity and every race. Explore that.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. And also want to know.
All over the country, all over the world too.
Yeah, for sure. I really appreciate that. It's almost like each department has their own job of like helping and creating awareness for something like Planet B234 is trying to accomplish. So thank you for sharing that. I also want to acknowledge that the soundtrack of Planet B234 is available on Spotify. You can stream it, you can listen to it, you can enjoy it, and like they said, Apple Music.
Yeah.
And also, they just said it earlier, but you can watch the film on Amazon Prime. You can also check out the website at planetb234.com. You can check out the IMDb, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Check out all those platforms. Okay, and so we got a few more questions. And so for those who may or may not know, Cesar has done work on the famous hit series, American Horror Story. You, Cesar, were the composer of the theme music along with Charlie Clouser.
Yes.
So tell me how that went along, and when you composed the theme of it, what were you hearing? Or what was going through your mind when making this?
When I was working on that was 1998, and I was just experimenting with sound for the first time in the digital realm. Like, I had been in bands, but I've been very, very influenced by Nine Inch Nails, because Nine Inch Nails is what taught me the power of sound. That's not just music, just the implementation of the entire spectrum of what sound is in a musical form. And yeah, I was playing around with Kool-Aid 96 back then in a Windows 95 computer, which meant it was super slow, but I decided to make this song that I wanted it to represent. I wanted it to sound like as if someone was ripping your heart out of your chest. That was my goal. I was not thinking about horror. I was just thinking about emotions, and yeah. And I made that. I recorded metal coat hangers, and I threw them on the floor, and I processed them. I stretched them in a very lo-fi quality, and that makes the branding of the show. I recorded raindrops on my window, and I turned those into part of the rhythm elements. And then I gave that song to a couple of friends, and over a decade later, one of those friends ends up being assigned to edit the video of the title sequence of the show, and he was instructed to give it a certain aesthetic, but what they wanted didn't match the songs that they gave him to try. And that's when he's like, this is like Gabriel Diaz, very, very, very talented video editor, now works for Netflix. He decided to just use my song. He's like, I think Cesar's song is the one that fits. Let's see what happens. He placed it there. His boss absolutely loved it. They just sent out what they had at the moment because they loved everything so much. And the producers and Ryan Murphy loved it too. Loved it so much that they decided to choose it. And eventually they needed stems. Like I said, I made this when I was first starting out. I had no idea what stems were. And they wanted it quick. They wanted all those stems quick. For the people that don't know, stems are basically the different instruments separated into different sound files. When I made it in that computer. The computer was dead. Stems were not available, so we had to reverse engineer things.
Yeah.
But the thing is that they wanted it very quick, and I was fully booked for 2 weeks as a sound designer, which is the thing that I was focused on in those days. So we made this arrangement where they would hire someone else to make the stems, and weeks pass by, I get the contract, and I see that the person that they hired was Charlie Clouser. I didn't believe that was the Charlie Clouser. I checked the spelling online. I'm like, yes, this is the Charlie Clouser
from Nine Inch Nails.
Played keyboards in Nine Inch Nails, and Nine Inch Nails is the reason why I got into sound. So I got this like full circle. And it's awesome, and yeah, and Charlie's awesome too. So.
Yeah, because I can tell you that theme. At first, when it first came out, I wasn't sure how I was going to watch it or not. But then it took me a while to finally get into it. That intro will always be uncomfortable for me. So, a job well done right there. A job well done.
I can tell you that, dude. Like, I had the privilege of being in a picnic, which is weird, but I was being in a picnic and I met Michael Abels, and he himself, he himself was like, "Oh, that song like literally scared me for like completely, honestly scared me." And it's a great compliment to be told that you scared someone so amazing. Yeah,
especially it's crazy how he was not thinking about scaring anybody. The song was not meant to be scary or used for horror.
Right.
But that was the strong emotion out of those sounds.
Yeah, it's just like every time I watch it, if you like cut the lights off and say you didn't know that you were watching that series, you would feel uncomfortable. Like, there's always that fluttering effect. We talked about this yesterday. It's that almost like that fluttering effect where it's like it sounds like an insect flying around your ear, and you don't like that because you can't see where it is. Okay, Carlos, I know we discussed this yesterday, and I know you wanted to keep it simple, but I thought about asking you this question about the Pulse Diaries because you told me something about, being free in making this composition, and I thought about how artists always feels the standard theory of composing a song, put in like a verse or a pre-chorus, a chorus, and a bridge, thinking about those. But when you made this, you were telling me of like you just free writing it, you just being free, you just showing emotions, and you just weren't worried about that kind of theory.
Right.
What advice would you give, say, like any music creative when making art like this and worrying about the standard theory of music composition?
Oh wow. Yeah, I don't know if I'm the right person to give advice because I'm just trying to express what's happening at the moment. I'm just trying to express something different, or I'm trying to push myself into feeling something. So that's my thought. That's why I don't think it's never in my head to think in a structure of intro, verse, chorus, bridge, and all that stuff. I don't think like that. I don't care about things like that. I see the value and I enjoy music that it's written like that, and I don't have a problem with it. But for something that is so unique and personal as the project of the Pulse Diaries, I'm not thinking about the reaction of people. I'm thinking about what I'm feeling at the moment, and I want to express that feeling. And if I really want to make me feel uncomfortable, I want to reproduce that. If I want to feel happiness, I want to reproduce that. And the music talks to me and push me into, do I want to feel that again? Okay, I'll repeat it one more time. Do I want to get rid of it? All right, let's then end it or move into a different direction. So depending on how I'm feeling, what the music is telling me or expressing to me after I created the main sounds, then it's where I go. I guess the advice that I can give you is it's just try to feel first. Just try to feel. If you want to work in a more traditional way, that's fine. Try to feel. Try to express an emotion and try to tell a story, even if it doesn't have any lyrics. Try to tell a story sonically, and then worry about the other stuff after. Because a really good song with no emotion, what's the point? Although there's room for all kinds of different types of music. I don't listen to all of them, but I understand the reason behind them. But yeah, I guess the main advice is try to be honest with yourself. Compose for yourself first. Practice for yourself. And then try to interpret what other wants you to create.
Look at you. And you say you're not the one to give advice. Look at you. That's really good. No, that was really good because, a whole bunch of my friends, who I graduate with, they are artists, making their way. And so I thought it'd be really, really great if someone like you, who created the Pulse Diary, something that was personal to you, you gave your emotions on the spot, And so I just wanted to give like creators a sense of mind or a platform to where it's validating for them to just, you know, be true to your emotions and just tell it through your art.
Yeah. You got to start there. It doesn't matter if it's commercial, if it's not commercial. You got to start with some kind of a story, and that story could just mean what you're feeling. It doesn't have to be something that you write down, that has lyrics or a poem. No, it should develop that story in your head and then produce your art. I've always jokingly with people, I always say, if in any artistic form, when you talk about it, you use the word industry, I don't want to talk to you. Then I'm not interested. If you use the word industry, then you're not thinking about art, you're not thinking about being creative, you're then thinking about a business, and I'm not interested. I'll move on.
You see, that's what we differ, because I'm more flexible. Like, I totally get it, but there are people that do want to make something very, very personal and place it within that industry. And it takes a lot of people to make some of these things. So, yeah, I'm more flexible about that.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy pop music and things that are more common that you can listen on the radio. Although I haven't listened to the radio and I don't even remember. But if it's something that is supposed to be emotional, even if it's something happy or comedy, or those are emotions too, it gotta come from an honest feeling or the emotion that you're trying to express. Not think about the other side first. We're creating this project to make money, or we're creating this project to just generate something. It just gotta be like, yeah, and maybe my music is not gonna be listened by a lot of people because of that, the way that I think. But I'm fine with that. I'd rather express myself in a specific way, and I'm honest to myself, and I can sleep well that I did what I was feeling at the moment, and then sharing it if I want to share it, and then move on. It's fine.
Where can they find the Pulse Diaries?
The Pulse Diaries is pretty much everywhere, from YouTube to Apple Music to Spotify too, and Bandcamp too. So yeah, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Just type the Pulse Diaries and you'll find it. It's easy to find. Or my website.
There you go.
My website connects to all of them too, which is cimarquez.com.
There you go. So if you haven't known already, you can always check out their websites. They have everything that they work on, all the links that you can go through and listen to their projects. Just a couple more questions, and then we'll reach the conclusion of this podcast. So I want to give a special shout out because, Cesar, I know you just recently worked on a short film that you and I just like connected the dots to. So one of my best friends, Xander, he worked on this film. It's called Visa Futura, and you Cesar, were the composer of that short film. So I just want to give a brief answer. What could we be looking forward to in your work, or just the film overall as well?
There are things that I made for that film that I haven't made before. Actually, no. Like things. How can I explain? It's just I can't say that many things about it because we want to keep it. We don't want to spoil the story. But
yeah.
It's, but yeah, there are some things that I haven't done in a long time that I did for this, and it's the first project in which that I made using an instrument as my main instrument. The instrument as my main. So the instrument is an instrument made by Roger Lynn, and the notes are basically it's like a keyboard, but the notes are organized like a fretboard, and that is something that I wanted for decades, and I finally bought one, and I'm super happy about it and super excited. And the film is really cool, and I was able to be very creative and try different things. And there's a lot of, like a lot of my music, it has a lot of sound design elements in the music itself, and sounds that I created with sounds that like musical sounds that are created with real world sounds that have been manipulated into something that just sounds musical, and it has surprises, and it's a great film by Martin Bernero and Sander, whose last name I forget.
Sander McGee.
Yeah.
So like I told you that me and Xander, we are best friends. We graduated from Full Sail. So we got a Full Sail university party going on here. So and just want to give a little shout out to all who popped in on the live. Big Sarge, I see you. Everybody, thank you all again for tuning in to the Premier Lounge Talk. Truly a great conversation that we're having, and all the great works, all the great experience and knowledge and advice on here. So as we reach the conclusion of this podcast, I like to end off. Oh, there he is. And I like to end with a very creative question that I like to ask my creative folks. If you were to create your life's soundtrack, what elements would you include, and what point of your life would you be emphasizing? That could be goals, your struggles, personality, whichever.
Damn, you went all in with that last question.
Yes, I did.
Yikes. You want to start, Cesar?
Like, I feel like a lot, if not all, of the music that I've made is my story. It really is. There's even a project that I've left in the Bandcamp world. It's called Lejos Far. Lejos Far. It's the same word, but Spanish and English.
Stuff. Really?
Even that is thank you. And even that is very much part of my story. There's Collective Line, there's the stuff under my name, César Dávila-Irizarry, which I know is a super long name. Yeah. And if I had to think of a single instrument that carries my soul, it's the one in which I think, which is an electric bass with nylon strings. It's almost fretless, but it's not fretless. It's just that the nylon makes it sound kind of like fretless, but not quite. And that is very much the sound of my most intimate moments, because it really is like whenever I feel like I need to relax and I need to like come back to my own most pure form, it's just me and my bass with nylon strings just playing just playing melodies. That's it.
You can also add a sound effect, since I got sound designers on here. You can also add a sound effect to that composition if you want.
But my composition does have a lot of sound effects, definitely.
Yeah.
Like another part of me is having tons of delay in the chain of effects, creating a shoegaze sound. Yeah, I've always been fascinated by psychedelic expressions.
Yeah.
Even though I've never taken psychedelics.
Never.
What about you, Carlos?
Nothing bad about it, but it's just, yeah, I don't know. Just enjoy the music.
Look how deep the connection between us is. Even in his projects, his personal projects like Lejos Far and Collective Soul. I mean, Collective Lie. Actually, not. Sorry, not Collective.
Yeah, Collective Lie, not Soul.
Not Collective Lie. That might be maybe the only one that it's not that. But most of his releases, I've been the one designing the cover art. Even for Lejos Far, the second one, I think it's Forever.
Hey,
The one that is blue.
yeah, the one that is blue that has your kid's foot.
It's in the cover. There's a foot of a baby. It's actually my daughter's foot.
Yeah.
So.
Oh wow.
We collaborate in weird ways too. So and it's part of us finding answers, and the first person that we think about is each other. Even if we don't know that we have the answer, I have to ask him first, and then hear his point of view, and then keep creating from that. That's the great connection. Now, story of my life. Yikes. I think it would be a combination of very dark ambient music with some aggressive intervals of percussion. Because we're from Puerto Rico, we're very moved by different types of native percussions and things like that, and the influence of freaking percussion too. So there's a lot of different flavors that we like to combine. So I always want to have, or not always want to have, I would include aggressive percussions with a lot of ambience, and then just destroy everything with a lot of distortion.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a way to find peace in chaos. I think that's the best way that I can describe it. We
peace
find
chaos.
Peace in sonic chaos.
Sonic chaos. I like that. I say for me, usually I like to add. I'm a big percussion head, so I need my percussion, and I don't know what it is about the cello, but it always speaks to me as well. I love the cello. I'm trying to learn how to play. I've been learning how to play bass as well. So a lot of like the percussion and bass style with a bit of keys. I say it really. I think it speaks to me in my life, and I'm just focusing on the upcomings that I've been on, and that'll be the point in my life that I would emphasize in my life soundtrack.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Maybe one day
So
we can create something together.
we'll make arrangements for that for sure.
Awesome. Yeah.
So we have now reached the conclusion of the Playlist Shuffle podcast. Our Premier Lounge Talk had a great time, had a great hour with Cesar and Carlos, two best friends with great chemistry.
Can I do it?
Go ahead.
Shout out real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Shout out to Mr. Miguel Bustamante, because thanks to him, that's why we're here.
Yes.
He was the one that connected us, and he is an amazing friend. It's actually family to us. He's our personal mastering engineer. He's our publisher, and he's the one that is always getting us in trouble.
Yeah, shout out to Miguel, also a Full Sail grad, and check out his publishing, Lucheshka Publishing. You can follow it on Instagram, LinkedIn. You can see his website. If you're an artist, if you're interested, please check him out. And so, so shout out to Miguel. Had a great phone call with him. We connected on, I believe, one of the Full Sail Alumni Network Zoom calls.
Yeah.
And he had his own breakout room, and we spoke. And a few months later, we got back on the phone, and we got connected again, and this happened. So shout out to Miguel at Lucheska Publishing. Shout out to you, Carlos, and shout out to you, Cesar. Thank you all again for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
No problem. Special shout out to to our new feature film coming up called Down for the Count.
Nice.
It was my first music supervisor gig that I did. Shout out to Harvey Davis, our composer. Shout out to Sun Kumar, our hip hop artist, indie artist, for their musical works. And shout out to Chicago Horror Film Festival for selecting our film in May. So we will keep you all updated on the release and everything else. Check out our trailer. You can find it on the Playlist Shuffle Podcast Instagram. You can find it on Xander's Instagram page, Outlaw Society page, Down for the Count page. We didn't spread the trailer all over social media, so we will update you on the release on that. And again, thank you all so much for supporting the podcast. We are here on Instagram, YouTube. We're getting on TikTok now, and of course Spotify. And so please check us out. Check out Carlos and Cesar's websites and piece of work. And you all got your Instagram page. Let them know where they can also find you on social media.
So I'm everywhere. C.I. Márquez, M-A-R-Q-U-E-Z. Instagram, Twitter. So I have to say X. It's
Twitter,
gonna be
X.
always Twitter for me. I don't know.
I'm with you. I don't even know either.
It's all C.I. Márquez. Mastodon too. I'm there too once in a while. My website is cimarkets.com. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. My website is filmmusicandstory.com. And that's where you'll find all my social media. I'm not on Twitter.
X.
But I'm here.
We're not on Twitter.
Shout out to everyone on here. Shout out to everyone. Lawrence, I see you. Follow his Instagram, Cashing in Dreams. His Instagram. Shout out to him. This has been the Premier Lounge Talk on the Playlist Shuffle podcast. We appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good night. Y'all have a great weekend, and be blessed.
Yeah, thank you for having us, and let's do this again soon.